The NFL houses some of the most eccentric people in all of sports. And I'm not just talking about the players. In fact, I'm more specifically referring to the coaches. Professional football attracts a certain type of person. It's not exactly normal to feel an urge to become a modern gladiator.
You know what to do. Yeah. Right? Just trust yourself.
Beyond the people that are crazy enough to play the sport, there's another crop of lunatics that are around the game of football. The coaches. Between the insane travel obligations, the non-existent work-life balance, and of course the intense pressure of a public-facing profession, it should be no surprise that the NFL's had some insane people leading the charge as coaches. Without further ado, let's look back at 10 of the craziest NFL coaches to ever grace us with their presence. If we're going to talk about crazy coaches, what better place to start than with two of the greatest coaches to ever grace the gridiron with their strategic genius. Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells, the master and the pupil, both deranged, brilliant, and talented in their own special way. Both men have become famous for their tirades that they tend to go on. Parcells in particular. Obviously, Belichick is a super intense guy, and the television cameras have caught him blowing up on an assistant coach or two in addition to his players. But Parcells took that loose cannon vibe to a whole different level. The man was borderline unhinged with some of the rants he would go on. There's a reason that NFL Films dubbed him as a top 10 mic'd up guy of all time. For some of our younger fans who may not have been following the NFL back in the day and happen to miss the massively popular 30 for 30 on the duo, Bill Parcells is the old burly coach they talk about on the NFL telecast sometimes. And while the younger Bill gets all the proper shine nowadays, Parcells was actually in many ways a mentor to Belichick, the man many consider to be the greatest coach in NFL history. Interestingly, their relationship began way back in the 60s while Belichick was still an adolescent, because Parcells held the same position at Army that his father occupied at Navy, and Steve Belichick would often allow a young Bill to join him on various scouting trips. The pair went on to have massive success together with the New York Giants, winning 2 Super Bowls with the elder Bill as the head coach and the younger leading the defense. But it was not just the ways of winning in the NFL that Parcells taught his star pupil. Belichick saw firsthand one of the craziest men to ever coach in the NFL. The man, known by many as the Big Tuna, had more than a few quirks to him. In his office, he always had a set of decorative elephant carvings that were positioned in a specific way that he believed brought him good luck. Oh, and before we go too far, Bill was not even his real name. He was born Dwayne Charles, and apparently he was mistakenly called Bill instead of a student that looked like him. And he liked it so much more than his given name that he demanded to be called it by friends and family alike. So that should tell you all that you need to know about the way that this man's mind works. While Belichick only changed his name from William to Bill, which is a far more acceptable move if you ask me, he did pick up some of the crazy that his teacher taught him. I mean, look at this man. Does he look like he's in his right mind? And it goes way beyond his patented gruff press conference. You know, the on to Cincinnati sort of shtick he's developed over the years. He's the kind of guy that would berate Tom Brady, a former league MVP, for not hitting an open receiver during a 25-point blowout. He's the kind of guy that will use every misnomer possible to create the illusion that he does not know what social media even is. He's the kind of guy that will allegedly organize large-scale espionage processes to win football games. That, my friends, is a crazy SOB. As crazy as Spygate, or Deflategate for that matter, were, both of Belichick's controversies pale in comparison to that of fellow lunatic and coach Greg Williams. Williams is allegedly the mastermind behind the scandal that got New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton suspended from the NFL for a year, Bountygate. For those who don't remember Bountygate, it was just a little controversy in which Williams created a system in which players were financially compensated for injuring key players on opposing teams. Not to mention the fact that he has had a falling out with damn near every other coach he's worked with in the professional ranks. Williams always seems to wear out his welcome, because even in a league filled with insanity, he is downright obtuse. There's no two ways to slice it. Another one of Belichick's adversaries, well, he was one of his adversaries before he took his talent to the college ranks, but nevertheless, Jim Harbaugh might be even more crazy than Belichick is. You know, it's not even just that he might be crazier than Belichick, it's more so that Harbaugh is a completely different brand of crazy than Bill. Really, he's just a different brand of crazy than most everyone on this list. He is far less calculated, a pure animal brain type of guy. And lucky for you, there's no shortage of examples when it comes to Harbaugh's bizarro antics. For starters, he essentially has his own personal uniform. The guy wears khakis pretty much every day. Let's be honest here, khakis are fine pants, a solid material, a nice look. Most people should and will have them in their rotation. But there is no need to have them be the focal point of your wardrobe. Then there is his strange adult obsession with SpongeBob SquarePants. I mean, listen to this quote. Does this sound like a man who's in his right mind? I love his attitude. He attacks each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I kind of modeled my behavior after him. We all should. What a great employee he is. He's a go-getter. He's always got a bounce to his step. He's got pizzazz. He puts his heart and soul into making those Krabby Patties. I think he's awesome. All right, Jim. Maybe this is why his weirdo practice of having sleepovers with his recruits didn't work out too well long term. Word got out that all he wanted to do was watch SpongeBob all night, and kids stopped wanting to go. Or how about his whole nervous bird take? You know, when he tried to stop Michigan players from eating the nervous bird that is chicken because he believes that human beings should only eat beef and pork. I mean, come on, Jim. You're making your alma mater look bad spouting these kind of conspiracy theories. Absolute nonsense. While plenty of coaches have said crazy things over the years, it does take a special way about you to earn the true lunatic tag without even opening up your mouth. And that is exactly what both Mike Singletary and Adam Gase have accomplished. Both men have gained reputations for being some of the craziest people involved with the game of professional football based on the looks in their eyes alone. Singletary at least was known for being one of the most intimidating linebackers to ever play the game. So that sort of works to have that crazy eye reputation, and he knew it too. Now, Gase, on the other hand, well, his eyes are frightening for a whole other reason. Surely everyone remembers his awful introductory press conference for the New York Jets, in which he foreshadowed all the horrors that he was destined to subject the Jets faithful to in the coming years. To be fair, it wasn't just the crazy eyes that made these two former head coaches seem crazy to the general public. Gase has gone back and forth with the media in a variety of bizarre interactions, and sources leaked that he privately responded to any criticism he received while coaching one of the worst teams in the NFL by saying point blank, "I'm rich as fuck." Classy, Adam. Super classy. At least Singletary cared about his team and winning, even if he got a little carried away from time to time. Like the time he pulled his pants down during a motivational halftime speech and then proceeded to try and rationalize it post-game saying, "I used my pants to illustrate that we're getting our tails whipped on Sunday and how humiliating that should feel for all of us. I needed to do something to dramatize my point. There were other ways I could have done it, but I think I got the message across." Okay, Mike. As long as you got your point across, by any means necessary, I guess. I guess that is not too far off of a departure from what we've seen from other famous crazy NFL coaches. Think about a guy like Joe Judge. This guy has only been behind the scenes for most of his career, but he has already made a career out of his insane antics. It's just that they are now being brought to the forefront because he's the head coach of the New York Giants, instead of a special teams coordinator or a wide receivers coach like he used to be in New England. He is straight out of a made-for-TV movie about the quirky coach who finds all these innovative ways to motivate his guys. He has done some of the old school stuff, like refusing to name any starters when he took the job, even though there were clear-cut starters on the squad. Then there was the rumor he was making some of his assistant coaches run laps during practice, which, I'll be honest, probably did motivate the players, or at the very least gave them a good chuckle. Judge also refuses to put names on practice jerseys and may or may not let his QBs take a few licks during practice. It will be interesting to see if his old school edge works in New York, or if he wears out his welcome before he can get that team turned around. Speaking of old school, Bum Phillips and Mike Ditka, two legendary NFL coaches, both have more than their fair share of crazy anecdotes. Phillips was known for being a cowboy hat-toting Western coach. Only he'd never wear his cowboy hat in dome stadiums because his mother had taught him not to wear a hat indoors. So to say that he was a traditional and old-fashioned kind of crazy would be an understatement. He, like Ditka, was fiery and really only cared about his defense rather than developing any sort of play-calling ability. Toss in the two men's affinity for tobacco-related products, screaming their heads off, and some other, extracurriculars, and you have truly two of the craziest to ever cash an NFL check. Player or coach. I mean, Ditka didn't even hesitate to tell fans to shut up during his pressers. Last but not least, we need to touch on the Ryan family, particularly Rex and his father Buddy, whom he presumably learned his interesting ways from. One thing I would hope that he didn't learn from his father is his peculiar proclivities. You know, the whole, foot thing. And the fact that he has a tattoo of his wife wearing a Mark Sanchez jersey. No one wants to picture what goes on behind closed doors in Rex Ryan's household. But if what he puts out there is any indicator, yikes. His father was a slightly different kind of crazy. The kind of crazy that invents revolutionary defensive schemes all while having one of the hottest tempers imaginable. I mean, the guy was a walking soundbite. It's a shame that the prime of his career wasn't in the modern era. He would have been social media gold. That is, if it didn't cost him his job. But hey, which NFL coach do you think was the craziest that you've ever seen? Did we miss anyone? Join us in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.